Right, guys, welcome back to the In the Rough podcast from the team here at STS Golf. Very big week, lots of, controversy is the best way to put it, and lots of exciting golf coming off. And I think, we're kind of been giving a hint away to our main and my favourite talking point is Patrick Reed. Tom, take it away.
So I'm assuming you've both seen the video, at least, of what occurred.
I have.
So the best way
indeed.
to put it, on a Saturday afternoon in San Diego, I should say. So for those of you who haven't seen it, Patrick Reed involved a bit of controversy with the embedded ball rule. So with that, due to the weather on Friday, a lot of rain, they were placing the ball on the fairway for kind of preferred lies because of how wet and muddy it was. Embedded ball in the rough is essentially that you'll be able to get free relief if your ball is plugged in the rough. And with that, it needs to basically go below the height of the ground. So be sort of plugged as you would in a bunker or something like that. And you get your free relief. Patrick Reed decided to take this and say his ball was embedded after hitting a shot which had bounced, which typically doesn't mean an embedded ball. Usually an embedded ball is when it comes in and it plugs straight down. So he's asked everyone at the side, has it bounced? They've all said no. He's gone and looked at it, picked his ball up, and then asked for a rules official, which is the key point, that he sort of picked his ball up out of the ground and said it is. The guys come along and he sort of dictated the conversation from there. No one really saw what he was doing in the grass. Did he push it in further? Who knows? It's Patrick Reed. He's got a reputation. And then obviously Rory's done the same. A couple of other players have done the same. But everyone's branded
Rory was the only
one.
Rory was the only other one. No, but Rory is the only other player to have the exact same situation, though.
No, he's not. Multiple people had it. It's just because it's Rory and the cameras are on him. Other people in Rory's group did it on like 3 holes before. So everyone was doing it.
So the issue in the controversy is more around him moving the ball without the official there.
It's sort of the way it's his reputation because he's got a history of cheating. And two, the controversy is around everyone saw the ball bounce essentially after the fact in the video. So that's a bit suspicious anyway. Rory's didn't bounce, which they've got the video of. And secondly, he kind of covered up the camera and was crouched on the ground, looking through the grass. And no one really saw what he did. And he didn't, usually you mark the ball with a T and you'd pick it up and then make sure it's sort of the same. So if it has got mud in it, you're not wiping it off. But he sort of took it up, put it in his hand, and then called the rules official.
It's just a number of things. It's not just the fact of the reason there's controversy around him and not Rory is the fact of Rory's ball comes straight in, plugs in, and that's clear and obvious. Fine, but what he did was just a number of things. So picking up the rules without calling the rules official. Fine, other players have done that as well. You can almost argue that. The fact of it's bounced, the way he covered up the cameras, the fact that he held it in his hands, didn't mark it with the tee. Even later on in the other rounds, so in the championship round for example, Hovland had to drop his ball. The ball would not stay. So he called the rules official over. They picked out like little tufts of grass and down to single individual blades as to where they were trying to place it to be as close to the original drop as possible. So if everyone else can have that much integrity, it's asking for the same.
But the big point is with Rory, he didn't even call the rules official. He just did it because he was that confident in it. No one else, his playing partners were fine with it, which is more important. And Rory's got the reputation. A lot of other players, they don't do anything. Rory's, even you look back to he said in his interview to the PGA last year, someone stepped on his ball when they were looking for it. So he got a free drop. And he got a better lie out of that free drop, and he didn't feel comfortable doing that. So he made his lie worse than the free drop he could get, and then ended up making bogey on the hole. But it's things like that he's not purposely going to be bending the rules. Whereas Patrick Reed has a history of doing it and to win championships. I mean, I don't think it took away from him winning the tournament because he won by 6 shots. I don't think anyone was going to beat him. It just sort
of momentum, though, isn't it? Because at that point, he wasn't 3-4 shots ahead as he was for most of Sunday. It's all about momentum on moving day, because Saturday is moving day as well. So, one or two shots here or there on a Saturday is massive compared to.
I think he was too good over the weekend, over the whole 4 days, for someone to be beating him anyway.
But isn't that what annoyed people the most, though? The fact that he was the best player over the tournament, and even if he took his penalty, he still would have won by 2 or 3 clear. So it's not.
I get what Seth's saying, that if
most.
he had taken 2 strokes there, it can sort of change the momentum where he's going. But I do think that at the end of the day, I think he was playing well enough that he was probably going to win anyway. Unless other players, on a Sunday, if they're 2 shots back instead of 3, does think that. But I do think he was good enough. It's just.
But you've said multiple times, golf is in between the ears. If you end up, making a bogey or a double bogey on a hole instead of a par save, and how much is that going to impact the rest of your round? How much is that going to impact all the players around you in terms of how they perceive your positioning? Because at that point, they don't need to challenge the flags on every single hole to try and catch you. They can play safe. They don't have to take those extra risks. So, Hovland was having to attack every single flag on Sunday, and he might not necessarily have had to do that if Patrick Reed had played fairly. I'm going to take a stance on that. I think he, just all the evidence and the way he went about it, leads to cheating. I don't know. Seb's opinion.
No, I disagree. He did everything by the rules.
I think it's more of an etiquette perspective rather than necessarily cheating. I think correct etiquette and discipline is to wait for your rules official, regardless of if you think you're correct or if you're wrong. Otherwise, what's the point in having them?
But then Rory didn't. Yeah. Rory didn't wait for rules official. He just did it. No one's questioning his etiquette. It's just the fact that it's Reed. He didn't cheat. They even said, when they come out and said, yeah, they did it perfectly. There's nothing wrong with it. One day they probably have to cover it up a little bit because they want to save face, but. It's not so is the problem more with the rules officialing then? Because you would argue if they've come over and they've said it's okay, whereas a lot of people I've seen online have made the point saying the time it takes a rules official to come over, they should be able to check the camera, check the video recording. It's instant playback. It's being shown live. Why are they not reviewing it to see if it did take a bounce or would have taken 10 seconds? Well, no, but that is the process that he didn't. He looked at. That's the one, but he looked at his ball first, picked it up, and then called a rules official.
No, but I'm saying when the rules official then comes over, why can't they then review that? Because then that's clear cut. Then there's no question mark.
Because all it takes is a mic in the ear and have someone.
But if he's already picked it up under the impression that everyone around him who's volunteering said they didn't see it bounce.
But the fact of
then for speed of play purposes and those sorts of things, he's done the right thing.
No, but you can tell by the way your ball is lying. I'm sure we've all done it. You can tell when your ball is absolutely plugged and caked compared to when it's on a bit of a bit. Yes,
no, but in the rough, after downpours of rain, it is quite hard to.
No, but you can tell the difference of a ball that's gone in and we've gone out and played rounds in those conditions and we've lost balls because we simply can't see them because they've gone under the mud. You can tell the difference when your ball is that far plugged compared to when it's stuck in the rough, admittedly, and has a bit of mud on it. But the fact of it's completely different.
I would say this time I don't think he cheated. He potentially could have done, but I don't think he did. It's more of a point that you shouldn't be doing those sort of things.
But then, for all avoidance of issues moving forward, do they need to say you cannot move your ball without a rules official? Do they? And then if you do, you're at fault. Do they need to implement something like that?
Potentially, but then you don't have enough rules officials. Then you don't have enough rules officials to cover 18 holes.
You can only realistically do that as something like a majors.
That's not even realistic. Three balls on every hole. Well, 6 because someone will be teeing off by the time you're on the green.
Yeah, but how many plugged incidents are there?
No, but also the
fact but then you still would have watched 3 players, 3 balls from each group.
No, but you only need one person per hole because your shots from your middle of the fairway, realistically, or the rough in the middle of the hole to the green aren't necessarily going to be.
Then someone wants to get relief from the green because they've got a sprinkler head in the way or something like that, and then the rules official's got to go from 300 yards away back down to there, then back up.
How many rules officials are there, and the fact they have access to golf carts as well? They're not having to walk it.
Yeah, but that's the point. There's not enough for like golf rules officials. That's the point. Like,
I think there's no reason there can be, or unless they implement something saying if the rest of his 2-ball, 3-ball, 4-ball, whatever they're playing with are in agreement, then that can dictate it.
Yeah. But by the sounds of things, they were, because he did say.
No, but then PGA Tour players have come out and said there's stuff going out about the fact that they're not in agreement about it.
Yeah, so but they weren't players with him.
No, but
that's the point. It's your group. It doesn't matter what anyone else. They weren't there. They weren't involved in the situation. That's what I'm saying. I imagine he probably. I don't think he has cheated this time. He may have done. Would I want to play with him in my group or in a tournament with him? No, because I'd be worried about him trying to do something. But it's quite entertaining. Game. Everyone's talking about it. So,
but the fact is, I think a lot of quite a few players have come out and said they don't like it because very few players actually comment on other players that are in a negative.
Then loads of others have said then it's fine. It was up to the group that were there. That's just a personal preference one. It's like us having this conversation. You're completely against it. I'm sort of like, well, technically he's sort of done it by the rules. So, I think everyone's just going to be sort of dubious of him for the rest of his career, which is something he's got to go.
They weren't already.
People just love to give him stick, don't they? I think he's the perfect scapegoat for anything, and people just jump on it.
But he's like
me being one of them.
One of the bigger entertainers in golf at the end of the day, because he does stuff like this. In the Ryder Cup, he's hilarious. Huh?
Entertainer. I wouldn't call this entertaining. I would call this just.
You don't think this is entertainment?
I can't comment on the podcast, but
biggest news in golf this week by a country mile.
And when he played Rory at the Ryder Cup, it was like the biggest thing because it was like one of the best matches ever because he's so like he drives to the crowd and like all that sort of stuff. So he is one of those sort of people who does play up to it, which probably doesn't help him in situations like this because he doesn't help himself by having a burner Twitter account and stuff like that at the end of the day. So he doesn't help himself. But yeah.
Well, I think we can all agree to disagree.
We can all agree that we don't like him.
No.
Yeah. He's not the best character.
He's very good at golf, so.
Can't complain with that. But I think equally that's half the problem because, why bother if you're that good? But we'll move on anyway because there was lots of other debates this week around a lot of the proposed changes to equipment. Some players saying they need to change kind of drive length, club face technology, balls, whereas others like Webb Simpson obviously coming out and saying that doesn't need to change, they need to amend the courses. What's everyone's thoughts on
So it was actually the PGA came out and said about the 3 things they are going to change and look at changing. So they're doing trials of it at the moment. So driver length, they're saying is going to be set at 46 inches.
What's the
club
point?
face technology, so you're getting all the drivers these days. It's got like rebounding face technology. They want to limit that potentially. And then the golf ball as well. Look at limiting that. But they're also saying that could be tournament by tournament, as in like local rules for each tournament that they can decide.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Like, so the fact is, we've got the technology, but we want to go backwards. I don't see the point in. So so the leaps that we made in technology, the drivers, 20 years ago compared to now,
it's boring.
It's
watching a tournament when the top 10 people are all 22 under par and it's no challenge for any of the players. It's boring.
But then that's not the equipment. It's the
course. But it is because they can drive it. They can drive it so far because of the equipment. They're taking all the danger out of play, all that sort of stuff. It's boring.
So the courses need to change. So you need to look at the average length of the players are driving it. That's where the bunkers need to be. That's where the water hazards needs to be. That you need to.
So you're going to change the whole golf course for one tournament a year. And then everyone else who's there is going to have it completely changed for them, all the members and everything like that, when you could easily just say you can't use these things to stop it going so far.
Well, no, so what Webb Simpson's come out and played, he proposed, in fairness to him, I'm on the fence between the two, but in fairness to him, he proposed the golf plans actually reduce land use for golf courses by about half by implementing new dog leg systems, all these different things. It makes it more manageable, cheaper, especially in the new economic climate. So there was a lot of very good points he made, but I guess why I'm on the fence, I like that idea, but it's surely much simpler just to reduce the technology than change all the courses.
But I don't see the point in, from a technology standpoint as to what is the point of developing technology if it's just going to be banned. So why do we want to go back to
For
golf
the consumer?
balls?
Because
No,
it's not
but
going to be banned for the consumer, is it? They don't make money from these players doing this technology. They make it all from us who buy the things and go out.
Okay, so but why would you want to buy stuff that the pros aren't using?
Because you know it's better.
So you want to. So the whole point of them paying millions and millions of dollars for these players to wear their clothes, use their equipment, use their golf bags, is so the consumer sees them using that and then goes, "Yes, I want that." But
I would argue I don't buy a club because a player uses it. I'd buy it because more of the advertising side of things and that sort of stuff.
No, but who do they advertise with? They advertise with the players that they pay to use their equipment and show them.
You can still stick Rory on a billboard with the new driver, and someone's going to buy it. It doesn't have to necessarily have to use it.
But what sort of message does that send? Of Rory wants you to buy the new, Sim 20 driver, but he uses a Sim 15 because he hits it too far.
But I don't think people think like that, and I don't.
No. I think the other issue is some of the biggest backers and sponsors in the game of golf are all equipment brands. None of them are going to support the changes, and they are the biggest money in the game. That's the reason I'm on the fence on the other side, is because they put the most money into the game by a country mile alongside TV revenue and outweigh that by the vast majority, and they will not support any changes because it's going to negatively affect them.
But also from the players' viewpoint, they are so adapted to what is now. They're not getting challenged by the courses anymore. The course needs to be different. So if you look back to the Memorial, where the course was designed by Nicholas, an actual difficult course, there wasn't anyone who's 22 under. There wasn't anyone.
Mark Howell won it at like 18 under the first week.
No, I'm talking about in lockdown. It wasn't 18 under, I don't think. But the fact is,
consult the statistician. Bear with me.
So you're going to consult Google. But the point is, the players throughout consistently across there found it challenging. So if you design courses according to the modern player, we don't need to be playing on all courses that are 100 years old. Courses need to be adapted and used over time. It's a fact of you need to change where the hazards are. You need to change, for example, the layout of the course so there's more dog legs that they find it difficult to cut off. So you can't necessarily just whip out the driver.
He won it at 19 under par.
All right, defeats the point a bit, but what was everyone else?
So that's my point.
No, but what was everyone else?
Like 5 years ago, yes, the winning score probably was but that's why technology has jumped so far in like the last 3 years alone.
No, but
it's cool. It's
is that everyone else wasn't 19 under. It wasn't a case
Justin Thomas was second at 19 under, and then 15, 14. So
I think the other problem is though, a lot of the historical courses where all the majors are, what people say is they go, "Oh yeah, we want to change Augusta."
Yeah, but that's the point.
To that?
Dustin Johnson has just won the Masters, breaking the scoring record there by like 7 strokes. The person who came second would have had the record for win. It's yes, probably the skill level of golfers is going up, but also
of course the skill level of golfers is going up because the players now are all athletes, and they're not out smoking, drinking every weekend, and they look after the bodies. They've got nutritionists, they've got sports psychologists, they've got every single thing every other elite athlete in the world has. So they are. Of course,
I think the most important thing to change is the golf ball, because that's probably got the biggest impact, because that can have effect on spin and all that sort of stuff. And then the only other thing you can do, if you're not going to change all the equipment, is to make it, if you miss the fairway, literally impossible for you to get up and green.
Well, I think that they were trying that. They were trying that at the championship that Bryson won at Winged Foot, where the rough was meant to be impossible, but the fact is, it wasn't, because I think
but it was for the most part there, because he won at 6 under, so most people weren't under par.
And also the fact of you need to make short-siding yourself, for example, a greater penalty. The flag location, where you make the pin location on any single day, can be a challenge as well. So I think if you can add subtle changes to the course, you can get a lot more out of it in terms of.
It's not going to be a subtle change though. It would have to be massive changes where it makes it impossible to get it.
Well, no, of course a hell load.
Counteracts the point, though, doesn't it? The biggest driver with the most tech, the most scientific player, won on the course that was adapted to counteract that.
But the fact is,
that was a unique situation, granted, because all the players came out and said because he hit it, although I suppose because he hit it so far, he could wedge it out and get it running onto the green, whereas it was impossible from 30 yards behind him to get enough club on the ball to do that. So that's.
But surely then that would happen at any other course where they change the same layout.
So what they need to do is have to stick water between 300 and 370 yards, stick pot in every hole, and then no one could drive over that.
That's what I mean.
They have to move the hazard.
That's not a subtle change. You've got to change every golf course that they're playing.
But how many golf courses do they actually play? They play a limited number of golf courses. But what you can at least do is you can do that for, the ones that are going to be hosting majors.
Which changes every year.
Yeah,
other than Augusta.
I mean, Augusta's probably the only one where you can't.
But then you're asking a golf course to change their complete setup and spend money and do that, and then not have a tournament there for another 10 years.
Yeah, imagine going to St Andrews, that's being 150 years old, and saying we want you to change your whole layout.
I'm not saying it's easy. But
but it's a lot easier just to say you can't use these golf balls. You've got to use these ones. So they give you 80% of overall distance.
But then,
but do you not think as well?
But the whole point of sport is that you're constantly pushing the envelope. You're constantly pushing the edge. So every other sport is evolving, developing, and getting better. In Formula One,
running,
in Formula One,
for example, 4-minute miles was the pinnacle of sport 100 years ago, whereas now a 4-minute mile bang average, people are getting closer to 3 minutes, and that's not because
you don't go to
trainers are better, but that's because of athletes and technology and science.
You don't go to a St. Bolt and say, "I'm sorry, you can't use your running spikes. You have to wear the shoes that that someone wore 100 years ago."
They would have still won. Although I don't think many people are going to be like Bryson in the fact how far he hits it and how big he's gotten. But you look at Rory, even Rory over the last 2 tournaments, he's driving it 25, 30 yards further than he was last year.
He is, but then he's had to work hard to get to that point. He hasn't gotten there magically from not swinging a golf club. The fact is the whole point of sport is that you're constantly pushing the edges to what is humanly possible. So if you take that element away, you're actually just restricting golf massively, and you're just going to get left behind compared to everything else, because at that point you're never going to be able to. So the drivers that come out every single year, a yard further, no point in those. Those companies are going to go bust within how many years?
Well, no, because they won't though, because the point is that they make all their money from people buying them who aren't restricted by that.
No, but why would you buy a golf club that is worse than the golf club you already own? Because if you take away for example, I don't know the actual impact of this, the face technology. For example, TaylorMade have it, the smart face stuff. Every other golf manufacturer has something similar. So, if they've been saying for the last 10 years, this is better than not having it, why?
They're not going to stop saying that when they're developing stuff for the consumer.
So why would they develop that for the consumer when you?
Because they want to make money from the consumer.
No, but why would the consumer buy that when they know it's not the best?
But it is. That's the point. It will be. They will still be improving it on the technology on it for the consumer. They're not just going to stop developing it and improving that.
No, but I think the point he's making is it's hard to them to justify developing it for a consumer when all the product on show is not that.
Yeah.
That I understand that.
Yeah,
point.
that's the point.
But I think you can go round in circles on this, so we'll move on.
I don't think so.
Well, we'll see what they say. It will cause massive controversy either way, but as well, I guess for the first time ever, they've extended betting on the Waste Management Open this coming week. Is that going to lead to more controversy? What's your thoughts on that side?
I think it puts the pressure on everyone. Everyone's going to be nitpicked, especially after Patrick Reed's thing last weekend. Everyone's going to be watching everyone's move to make sure they're not doing something. Although,
and golf is a one sport, whereas I guess it's quite easy for someone to throw it after because it's completely down to the individual. Whereas, in team sport where you hear of match fixing or, you hear of them doing certain things, it's golf is entirely reliant on one player. So all it takes is for one player to.
I think it's interesting because it opens up the options. I think a lot more people will probably watch some golf who probably weren't necessarily watching it before, just because of the fact they can put money on it and get that from it. But I think it's slightly that I wouldn't be surprised this season if someone gets banned for throwing.
I don't think it would happen this season. I think there'd be too much spotlight on it this season. But in the coming years, there will definitely be some sort of controversy that happens.
I'd say I just wouldn't be surprised if something did happen. I'm not saying it will, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone who's fighting for their tour card for next season is struggling, probably not going to get there. They put all of their money on them not making the cut or finishing somewhere, and then magically end up with 500 grand in their bank account from there.
I think it does leave it open to that because it's such an individual sport. It is like there's much more issues with that. What it used to be in tennis and so forth, because you alone can throw something. Or like in boxing, it used to be a historical issue. Whereas in football, for example, you have to convince 11 people to throw the game or whatever.
Unless
it's very hard to do.
Unless it's the goalie, but
unless you carry us in a Champions League final.
Yeah, or Southampton against Man U or something. But anyway, I think the other reason they've done it is because I think obviously they said uptake in golf is up 45% year on year globally, which is obviously pandemic driven, but it's crazy. But then also these betting companies are trying to capitalize on that, knowing that in a lot of countries people can't play golf, so they're more likely to watch it on TV to get their fix. But
I think a lot of those people will be our sort of age as well. Sort of the 21s to 30-year-olds who are just getting into it, but then also have that culture as well around other sports, so like football, for example. So we'll jump on the bandwagon for it. So, and
it's going to increase sponsorship money, prize money. It's going to pump an awful lot into the sport.
I just wouldn't want to see the betting companies take over the sport, though, like they have in many ways in football, where every single football team essentially has a betting company as their sponsor. I just wouldn't want that to be the case.
No, I think it will cause an issue, but it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Like the other news this week was kind of the Ryder Cup announcement for 26 is going to be at their manor in Ireland, and that's over there for the first time since 2006. So it'll be 20 years on. Obviously, big news for them. Probably good news for UK fans that can actually get across and actually watch a good one. And maybe by 26 there'll be some fans allowed. Hopefully, so
Well, hopefully we'll be able to make it. I'm just interested to see who's going to be in the team by then. Actually, so who's going to be the young up and comers coming through? Because there's not many. You got all the young Americans coming through. We know who's going to probably be there. It's going to be Morikawa. It's going to be Matt Wolff. It's probably going to be Hovland. And then for us, it's going to be Rahm. Still going to be around.
I wouldn't call him a young
Hovland will be European.
Hovland is European, so
McIlroy will probably still be around by then. Yeah, definitely will be still around by then. He'll be only 36, so yeah, definitely will be.
Tyrrell will be around.
Tommy.
I wouldn't be surprised if in Poulter still somehow managed to find a way to stick around.
He's always
just wheel him out for the putt that you need him to make, and then
you need entertainment like that.
I think it'll be whoever comes through in the next 5 years. Really,
to make sure we get somewhere for one of them, don't we? Really. So.
Right. So on to our predictions from last week. Obviously had. Over in Dubai, and then also you had Torrey Pines, but we'll start with Dubai. We had some very interesting picks. Some did well, some didn't do as well. Tom, who did you go with?
I went with Tyrrell Hatton in the end.
How did he get on?
He came 22nd, which, following a 4 over first round, is not too shabby. If I'm perfectly honest with you, I'm surprised he managed to claw it back. But I should have known better than going for someone who won the week before, because no one ever wins back to back. So,
who did you go with?
I went with Fleetwood. I think ended up 17th with some horrible putting that cost him a lot of placings. But I think just for the record, I did point out that Paul Casey would have been a very good pick, but I stupidly did not pick
I don't
him.
think you went with Fleetwood, mate. I think you went with Morikawa, didn't you?
You went with Morikawa. I went with Fleetwood.
I did not go with Morikawa.
You did go with Morikawa.
No, Seb. Watch the tape. Seb went with the Morikawa. I went with Fleetwood because I said I'm seeing Seb's pick. So you lot are just jealous because you need to learn. You need to learn how to pick these players.
Okay, yeah, Morikawa didn't do very well. So we'll skip over that.
Yeah, another American missing the cut. Yeah. But interesting enough, this is.
He didn't miss a cut. He was just 7 over.
Oh yeah, 7 over 5. Yeah, but Paul Casey obviously now pushing for Ryder Cup as well, which is interesting. Bit of a resurgence from the
well, he had a good end to last season, and well, to be fair, we should have looked at his record in the Middle East. He's got the most wins out there by any player.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but no, I think there are some guys up there looking very good for the Cup. I think Tommy should be there just through consistency. I don't think he's going to win too much, but he's going to always be there or thereabouts. So he's going to become the new Tony Finau.
Torrey Pines, who did you pick?
I went with... Who did I go with?
You went with John.
So I went with Ram. I went a big boy.
Ram, 7th, wasn't he?
7th in the end, and I went with McElroy, with Wolf. Sorry, I was going to say McElroy there. I went with Wolf because.
How did he get on, Tom?
He did great, mate. He played absolutely terribly, and then withdrew himself. So.
How he withdrew, did he?
Oh, he did.
Should we have like a consequence for
withdrawal? Myself.
I think that is our first withdrawal, and when the course is back open, without doubt, there will be a punishment for that. So we're just waiting.
That was never a rule. How much was control?
I didn't think anyone would pick someone who withdrew.
How was I ever supposed to even think that? That can't be a thing. What? Someone gets injured and you have to do a punishment because they withdrew for an injury.
I'll back this as long as it's not my guy that's withdrawn.
No chance.
No, 100%.
No, but
if not for everything, Tom.
No, but if not a punishment, there has to be like negative points if your player didn't even bother playing.
But he did play. He played the first round, then withdrew.
Yeah, because he played so poorly.
That's even worse. That's just quitting. I don't like quitters. You should know this.
Not doing a punishment, not taking anything from someone withdrawing.
Patrick Reed.
No chance. Finau finished second again, though, guys.
But basically, if you want consistent points, you go Tony Finau.
Interestingly enough, I saw this morning. Victor Hovland missed a 2-foot putt on the 17th, which stopped him from being in second by himself to being tied second, which cost him a grand total of about $600,000 in prize money.
Yep, so that as well.
2-foot putt.
I did see that.
Which is like 30 grand an inch or something. So
that's what I was saying about Fleetwood as well, missing a couple of bad putts that cost him a lot of money.
Yes, there you go. So, scores and doors after 2 weeks of predictions are looking very good to see. Have a solid 14. Tom, a solid 5. Me, a solid 4. But it's early days, boys. It's early days.
How can all 3 of them be solid? You need to.
You've had one person win without 2 out and winning. You wouldn't be. You'd be not that.
You'd be joint bottom.
But I'm not.
Source. Yeah.
But I'm not.
Tom should have minuses for withdrawal. I don't know how he's on 5.
No chance. Just not.
Discuss it afterwards. He won't. Right. Upcoming tournaments. Obviously, big ones this week. Obviously, you've got another one in Dubai, and also you've got the Phoenix Waste Management, which
Saudi.
is
this week.
Saudi. Come on.
Saudi. So yeah, to see how we get upset.
You're getting beheaded, aren't you?
Yeah. But yeah, so you got the Phoenix Waste Management, which historically is one of the best tournaments to watch, just because of the crowd, the layout of the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Any good this year?
It's going to be a bit empty. Isn't it? It's just.
Apparently
they even put the stand up.
No, apparently they're leaving some of it up.
No, the whole stands up because they had the qualifiers today. Had the qualifiers for the juniors today. The whole stands up.
Okay.
Surely it's going to echo round. It's just going to be a bit. Are they going to they might amplify noise in and put fake crowd noise in like they've done with other sports, something like that?
No, there is some crowd though. It's not, but they're limited. So, but it's a lot of corporate stuff. But it's not. So there will.
I imagine they'll pump some noise in as well. Surely.
I think that's what normally makes Phoenix so good. Just with the stands are so around the greens.
I would say it's one of the most famous holes in golf.
Yeah.
Probably top 5.
Yeah. No. I
That
I can agree with that.
Sawgrass.
Yeah. We'll save that for another video, Tom. Mate.
Probably about it.
Sawgrass, yeah. No, I think it will be a shame, but player picks, obviously, it's a very good lineup. But Sehab, you're up first on this one. Who have you got?
So am I doing Phoenix first then?
Yeah, just Phoenix.
So 21 of the top 50 players playing in this tournament. I've got my eye on 2 that are not in top 50. So I've got my eye on Ricky Fowler and Cameron Champ. But I'm going to go safe and I'm going to go wrong. Because I just thought I'd put a disclaimer in there in case Cameron Champ and Ricky Fowler do very, very well. Because I think they will. But I'm going to
Champ is not good. He can just hit it far on his drives, but he's not good. And Ricky Fowler's not been good for 18 months.
But this course he does like. But I'm just going to go Rahm. Desert golf, essentially. He likes it. He likes the weather. He's acclimatized when you near there, and he's one of the best players in the world. Pretty simple.
Yeah, simple pick. For me, I'd love to see Rory do it. I'd probably have my money on JT.
Well, I'm going to go Rory then, just sweep up some easy points because you're going to come top 20 at least. So he's playing himself into form. So.
Yeah, no, agree. So for Sehab's peace of mind, and if he ever wants to recap, Sehab's gone with Rahm, I've gone with JT, Tom has gone with Rory. And then where did you say the next one is? It's not Dubai.
It's in Saudi. So this is interesting, actually. Just simply with the number of American players coming over. Like the pot isn't that big. The pot's only 3.5 million compared to the 8 million that they're used to. So, the fact that the number of them are coming over, but also it is a very, very packed list. So if I just go through some of the names, you will be. It is quite staggering. So we have Dustin, Bryson, Tyrrell, Patrick Reed, Victor Hovland, Tommy, Tony Finau, Abraham Ancer, Casey, Shane Lowry, Lee Westwood, Justin Rose, Kevin Na, Sergio Garcia, Henrik Stenson, Martin Keimer. Yeah, very, very
Get
packed.
a picture, don't you? Yeah. All right, and I think it's me up first for this one, and I don't want to say Patrick Reed, so I'm not going to. I'm ruling him out of my mind completely because I guess he's going to struggle when there's more sand than grass because he can't.
He's very good out there, though.
Don't tell him
Tom,
that.
I'm ignoring your comments on Reed. I don't like you. I'm going to go with Dustin Johnson.
Okay.
Just go with the world number 1. Yeah.
That's a smart move, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Who do you think is going to win? The best player in the world. Yeah, it's a smart.
I kind of do want to say Patrick Reed, right? Just because he is out there, but then that goes against what I just completely said about people winning back to back. So I can't really go for Patrick Reed, but I know Siad's probably going to go for him. Paul Casey's not going to win back to back, but he's very good out there. I'm a bit stuck here. Do you know what? I'm gonna go for Tyrrell again. I'm gonna go now. If he doesn't do well this time, I'm never picking him again. But I'm doing it.
I so hope he withdraws.
So I'm going Tyrrell. I'm doing it. Done. I could have gone Finau, but he's just not going to win. Never going to win.
See how it goes. Who you got?
So I've got the 3 in mind. So I've got obviously Patrick Reed because he's the American that's won the most out there. Casey as a guy who's just generally won the most in the Middle East. I think Tony Finau is a very safe pick just to finish top 20. But the surprise pick that I have, I quite like Henrik Stenson at the moment.
That's an awful pick.
I'm not going with him yet. I didn't say I'm going with him. I said I quite like him.
Sorry,
I
have
am-
to take
I
the
am-
first answer. Sorry. Right.
So my first answer was Patrick Reed. Then you idiot. So do you know what? I will lock it in. I'll go Patrick Reed.
Oh,
Pussy.
I hope he doesn't. I'll be.
I'm going to assume he
extremely
does because I was going to pick him and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. after saying people can't win back to back.
Well,
morals and
to be honest,
ethical
it was either going to be Casey or it was going to be Patrick Reed. So I think I'm hoping that he uses the hatred.
I went for
as
Bryson,
fuel.
interestingly enough.
Yeah, because he's not a good player.
Right, and on that bombshell, we will end it there. Thanks guys for listening. Obviously, hit the subscribe button, smash the like, turn the little notification bell on as well to get updated whenever we release any more of the podcasts or any of our other videos. And stay tuned for much more, but thanks for listening.